Well, hi, my name is Luke,
I'm Kara.
and this is Dispersed Church, where we are having conversations about faith and life, meaning, the universe,
Everything.
everything. And we're glad you're here with us today.
Yes.
Um, so, Kara, how are you?
I'm good. It's a Monday. I've had a lot of coffee and
Similar,
yeah,
similarly.
I'm trying to be real chill, but I'm like, yeah,
Yes, I'm
feeling
also there.
feeling really good.
So, today we're actually having a conversation about why anything matters.
Mm. Yeah.
So, we are both Christians. We're followers of Jesus. So, that is obviously the angle at which we're going to answer this question and is also the angle through which we will answer all questions.
Mm.
But if you're not a Christian, you're not a follower of Jesus, I would encourage you to just hang tight and listen to the conversation. We may have a perspective you haven't thought of or didn't think Christians actually thought.
Yeah.
Um,
Have you seen side note? Am I allowed to have a side note?
you are totally
Okay,
allowed to have side notes.
have you seen Mean Girls, right?
Yes.
Okay, when that mom is like, I'm not a regular mom, I'm a cool mom. I kind of feel like I don't yeah.
I am
I'm
not Amy
first I'm
Poehler
not,
in
I'm
Mean
not a
Girls.
mom. Okay,
I'm also
but
not a mom.
you're a dad though.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've been told like I'm not a regular Christian, I'm a cool Christian. No, I don't know if I can put that label on myself,
That might be
but
weird.
it is kind of weird. But I feel like anytime people have asked, "Hey, what's your opinion?" I'm I share it. So I'm excited to share with the topics you bring and the perspective you bring, just
Yeah.
to share whatever I think.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, too, I think with
Yeah.
Christianity, it's important to remember that it's a religion that's 2,000 years old
Mm,
and comes out of Judaism, which has an even longer history. And we
yeah.
share some of the same religious texts as Jewish people.
Yeah.
But over those 2,000 years, Christianity has moved all over the world. It's been in every single country. And every time it goes somewhere, people are answering life's questions and they're navigating those questions in their own culture's context and are
Yeah.
thinking through what it means to actually follow Jesus
Through that lens.
through that lens. And
Yeah.
so that means that you may know what a Christian thinks or even a small group of Christians think, but that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you necessarily know what has been taught or thought
Yeah.
through 2,000 years of Christian history
Exactly.
around the world.
Yeah.
So the answers may surprise you. Um,
They may.
they may. So, if this is something you're exploring for the first time, we just would invite you to listen with an open ear
Yeah.
and engage in dialogue with us. We'd love to have a conversation with you about what we're talking about. So,
Yeah.
we're starting off with the question of why does anything matter at all?
Yeah.
So,
Why? What's the
why?
point?
What is the point? So, as we think about this, one thing I think about is there are a few different answers that you can kind of generate, and they would fall roughly along three lines.
Mm.
So, the first answer is, and this is really a question about why there's something instead of nothing. Like, why does the universe exist? Is there a purpose behind it?
Mm.
What really is the point of existence?
Yeah.
So, the three basic answers, we'll overview them and then we can dive in a little bit deeper. Does this track so far?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
First is that the universe just exists because it just exists. It's either random, it just happened, or it's out of mathematical necessity.
Hmm.
It's just the fulfillment of the law of physics.
Yeah.
That's kind of answer one, random or mathematical necessity. No real cause beyond that. The second answer would be kind of more of an Eastern philosophical view. So, like Hinduism, Buddhism, those
Okay.
Eastern religions, which are really the universe exists, but really we're all just one thing. This is
Mm.
all the same stuff.
Yeah.
The vision of separation of existence is actually an illusion that we're all trying to escape. But
Hmm.
ultimately, the universe exists, has always existed,
Yeah.
but it's really just one thing that has always existed and will always exist. And you and me being separate people, and that fake plant being a separate thing is really just an illusion.
It's fake.
And so that's actually a view called
Oh.
monism.
Yeah.
Mon meaning one, ism meaning a view. So it's
Yeah.
monism. Everything is one thing.
Yeah.
If you've heard of nihilism, monism is kind of like that, but it's not that there's nothing. It's just that there's one thing.
Today I learned.
Today you
Yeah.
learned. Words matter.
Yeah, they do. They do.
And then the third view would be what's kind of broadly called a theistic view.
Okay.
And this is where Christianity would fall in that it's that things exist because God created them. So
Mm.
before anything else existed, God existed
Yeah.
and willed everything else into existence.
A little bit more intentionality, it sounds like.
Intentionality
Yeah.
behind it, there's a
Okay.
purpose. And so there are a
Mm.
few different groups that would fall under this
Mm.
answer. So like Islam, Christianity, Judaism
Okay.
would all be under the theistic explanation for existence.
Cool.
So just saying that God causes the universe to exist is not an explicitly Christian
Yeah.
view. There are other religions that are going to affirm this,
Yeah.
but Christianity does fall under that kind of philosophical branch.
Yeah.
So, what are you thinking? Where are you at? And
It's a lot to take in. Let's go back to the first point.
okay, so
Okay.
point one,
Yeah.
mathematical or random. The universe exists because
Random.
the laws of nature said it had to. There were mathematical principles that have always existed and will always exist because math is magic. If you want to believe that, I don't think
I
they actually.
don't.
Math is magic is not a direct quote from
I
anyone. That
I
would be a.
wasn't a big fan of math in school, so it makes me
I have an
it's,
English
like,
degree, so I'm
difficult for
not
me
either.
to think that math made all of this happen
Well, it's
when
not that math made it happen. It's just
okay.
that math is a set of irrefutable universal laws
Okay, like,
and
2 plus 2 is always
four.
4.
And so, due to underlying mathematical or physical principles, the
Mm.
universe just had to exist because that's the way that math played out.
Because one thing plus another thing led to
Another
this
thing.
thing,
Yeah.
like the world.
Yes.
Okay.
So, or the universe just exists because it does and you got to deal with it. And that's what some
Okay.
people will call the
Yeah.
brute fact
Okay.
explanation. So, the universe is just a brute fact. You exist.
Hmm.
You won't one day. Deal with it.
That's a lot to deal with. Like, that feels heavy to me.
It can. So, this is
Okay.
sometimes lumped under a view called materialism.
Mm.
And that is not, I am wealthy and I like to own material things in a
Yeah.
philosophical sense.
Okay.
Materialism, when we're using philosophical ideas, is more that um, the only things that exist are physical things.
Mm.
Physical, material things are the only things.
Okay.
So, this view would be the materialist view of the universe and why it exists.
Wow.
So, as we're thinking through these different answers, and I'm going to lean more in talking about the materialist and the theistic explanations because
Mm.
I'm more well versed in those.
Yeah.
Um, is as you're thinking, it's what story tells the best story, and what story do you want to believe in?
Yeah.
Because I think at the end of the day, for all of these, and you may reject this as a concept, you're going to have to take one of these explanations on faith.
Mm.
So if you believe in the brute fact or the mathematical explanation, there's still an element of faith that's going to lead you to that.
Yeah. Like, you weren't here when that one thing led to another thing, which led to another thing, which led to the world or the
Right.
universe.
And you,
So how do you know
right.
you have to have
Yeah,
faith? You
you're
have to
trusting a
yeah.
level of scientific or mathematical or
Yeah.
just random explanation.
Yeah.
And it,
Even the random thing, you have to believe that it was random that led to
yes.
yeah.
And the same thing with monism, you're gonna have to accept that on faith. And the same with the theistic explanation, you're accepting that on faith. So what we're
Yeah.
really asking you to do is to consider which of these three stories you just find more intuitively appealing.
Yeah.
Because you're going to use one of these as an explanation. I mean, maybe you're a nihilist and you don't actually believe that anything exists.
Mm.
I don't think there are actually really any nihilists out there for the most part. Maybe you're
Yeah.
out there. This is the internet. There are like 5 billion people, so there's a good chance.
Yeah.
Um, but which story makes the most sense? Which
Mm.
story appeals to you the most? And we're just asking you to consider the story that you believe.
Yeah. No, I think of some of those descriptions you talk about. I feel like I've already referenced another movie. I'm not a big movie person, but my second
We're,
movie
we're starting
reference.
to believe differently.
Yeah. Like the have you seen
Consider the story you believe about
yeah,
Kara.
have you seen Zoolander? I
Of
feel like
course.
everyone's seen Zoolander, but that scene where he looks into that puddle and he's like, "Who am I? Where am I?" Like, or like you think about those movies where everyone's just gone through this moment of like internal crisis or like self-reflection, and you just think about like, why am I doing this? What's the point? Why does this matter? And so for
Yeah,
us, like we are Christians, and to think, well, I know whose I am.
right.
I know I know ultimately how God views me. Is that different than how the world views me sometimes? Yes. So when I have those super tough, difficult moments or those super tough, like, I don't know, really difficult crisis moments, I have peace knowing that, like, I know where I came from. I know why I'm here. I know why I'm living the way I live because of that purpose and that lens.
Yeah,
But to think, to go through these really difficult moments or to go through these tough times, to think, like, well, it's just random. It is what it is.
yeah,
Or it always was, so it always will be.
Yeah,
It's
which
that
if in the materialist sense is actually not the case because you know that if you're just material stuff and the universe is just material stuff,
yeah,
any astronomer could tell you that eventually one day, well, anyone could tell you one day you will die.
yeah,
Eventually people will forget you, so ultimately your life's actions will have little consequence in
man,
history. Eventually, the sun will consume our earth and all record of human existence will be wiped out. And in the off chance that we manage to like move off planet,
yeah,
eventually the universe itself will implode
it
and this
will.
universe will cease to exist. So at the end of the day, that's it. Like you will die, you will be forgotten, this planet will be burned up, and the universe is going to
Time's
implode in a
ticking.
heat death. So like
Yeah,
real meaning
yeah.
is not possible.
Whoa, yeah.
Um bleak. Bleak,
This
bleak.
is heavy.
It is heavy.
Yeah,
So, and that's, I think, intuitively why I find the theistic explanation appealing.
mm,
That there is a purpose behind creation. And obviously, there are different types of theists. We've talked about this. There, you could be Muslim, you could be Jewish, you could be Christian. Those are all theists. They
yeah,
believe in a God.
yeah,
Um, so you can have different explanations of why a deity created the universe.
mm,
We're not into anything particular to Christianity yet, but there is something behind this universe. There is a reason it exists.
yeah,
The different religions that are theistic will quibble about those reasons.
yeah,
But I find the theistic explanation compelling because it makes meaning
yeah.
a real possibility.
To me, it's like comforting, or it brings, again, I talked about peace earlier, to know that everything starts with God, that there's that intentionality, that there's that He had a purpose and He placed that purpose in me. And that,
Yeah,
yeah, in a bleak world where you know that ultimately this, like, science has shown us that this is what is going to happen. We know that when we look at certain stars, that is what happens. And the sun is a star. I know that. But like ultimately, we know we know the finish line. We know the end goal of what's going to happen. So, I don't know, that piece of knowing that
yeah,
everything starts with God, everything ends with God.
yeah. And so if you're wondering what you do with this and what you think about it,
Yeah.
A, keep watching, engage us in dialogue. But as you think about the story you believe about why we exist, why this world exists, why
Mm.
anything matters, and what makes meaning possible, think about the story that you actually believe. Do you
Yeah.
think that you are just physical stuff? Or do you think that your life really can have meaning and purpose
Yeah.
and that you have value?
Yeah.
And then consider which story actually makes that possible.
Yeah. I think looking back at my life, there was a time where, yeah, I grew up in a Christian home and I grew up with Christian influences in my life, but there was a pivotal moment in my life where I distinctly remember, like, do I really believe this? Is this really like what I'm going to center my life around? And I'll, if I'm, if you invite me back next week, or,
Oh, you'll be here.
yeah, I'll be here. But there was a point in my life where I really had to decide, like, I need to make my faith my own. I need to decide what I believe, if I believe this thing that I've been taught growing up, and am I going to center the rest of my life around it? And yeah, it's your decision. It's only yours to make. So
Yeah. So we hope that you will engage us. So if you've enjoyed what you've seen, like and subscribe, leave comments.
yeah,
We would love to engage with you.
yes.
Thanks.